Hello friends, welcome to the Trading Temple channel. Today we're going to analyze the Bitcoin chart, as well as the Ethereum chart and the total market cap. What you see on the screen is the Bitcoin chart, and the current price is around $107,000. What you can see is that in the move Bitcoin made yesterday, it managed to break through this multi-month support level and move down. And now a bearish candle has formed, and this candle caused the price to close below this support level, resulting in the loss of this support. In the short-term time frame where Bitcoin dropped sharply, it went down and filled this gap here. This gap has now been closed, and with the touch it had, it hit the last support, which was this trend line we had talked about. This trend line has been moving upward for several years since 2022, and we said that if this support level is lost, and also if this trend line is broken, things will get very difficult. Also, here you can see the 200-day moving average, which Bitcoin lost yesterday with that straight candle. And with the candle form today, you can clearly see it touch the 200-day moving average, and it's very likely it could continue its path downward. What's interesting and important here is that if Bitcoin wants to turn bullish and move upward, it's possible that in these areas where it previously made lows, there was a lot of liquidity. With this move down, it has grabbed that liquidity, and it might be able to bounce and return above the support level it had lost, do a backtest, and then continue its path. This is possible because we've seen Bitcoin do this several times, showing that it can grab liquidity and continue its path. Here you can see in this section that when the price made several new lows, the price went down, collected liquidity, filled the gap, and then the price returned upward. On this side, you can also see there was liquidity below. Liquidity here means that many of the positions traders had placed in this area and in this area as buy and long positions. The price went down, hit their stop losses, collected liquidity, and then bounced back up. In this section, you can see it did the same thing again. In these recent periods, you can see Bitcoin has done this repeatedly and formed a bottom. Here too, you can see we have a low here and a low here, which caused the price to go down, collect liquidity, and then move up. I can say with high probability that this could happen again for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin could return above this support level. As long as it's below this resistance, it's going to be very difficult. If the price can move back up and get above this resistance, that is the support level it lost, do a back test and continue its path, that would be very bullish. Also, if it can get back above the 200-day moving average and hold this trend line, that would be great. But if Bitcoin can't do this and continues downward with the current move, things will get tough, and it's very likely we'll see a strong bear market, and it could drop down to around these levels, meaning Bitcoin could fall in price to about $75,000. On the other hand, if we look at the weekly time frame, we can see that in this section, we had talked about the RSI and that Bitcoin has entered a divergence on the RSI. What does that mean? This means that when the price is making higher highs on the chart, but the RSI is making lower highs, it indicates that momentum is being lost. Here you can see the price is making higher highs, but the RSI is making lower highs, a divergence showing that momentum is fading. In these areas, you can see higher highs being made, but the RSI is making lower highs, and this is called divergence, meaning momentum is being lost. On higher time frames, like the weekly time frame, this is a bearish sign and probably indicates that Bitcoin's run is over and it might enter a bear market. This same thing happened in 2021, which led Bitcoin into a bear market. Another sign is that if Bitcoin loses the 50-week moving average, you can see the 50-week moving average is usually used as a support for Bitcoin. And you can see several times here it touched it and bounced nicely. When it lost the 50-week moving average, it entered a bear market. Here too, you can see it formed its bottom several times, and even now it's close to it. If it breaks below, it could be a signal that Bitcoin is entering a bear market. On the weekly time frame, you can also see the MACD has turned red and lost its momentum. Things are very difficult, and there's a 60 to 70% chance that Bitcoin won't be able to recover, because there are a series of signs showing that Bitcoin will likely enter a bear market. As long as it's below this resistance, things are very tough. If it can move back above this resistance and test it as support, that would be very good and we could turn bullish, but so far everything is bearish. Let's look at the Ethereum chart as well. Ethereum also couldn't break its all-time highs. These two red lines you see are the all-time highs it tested several times but couldn't break through. It was rejected from its all-time highs, tried to test it about 4 times but couldn't break above, and the price went down, making things a bit difficult. It hit this support level near $3,500, and with the bounce it had, Ethereum managed to test the 50-day and 100-day moving averages, but couldn't do much there and was rejected again and came down. For Ethereum, what's important is that it shouldn't lose this support level, and this resistance it has formed here. If the price can get back above it, and if Bitcoin also gets back above its resistance, that would be very good, and Ethereum could potentially break its all-time highs. But the price needs to get back above this resistance here, which is around $4,200. If it can get above that, it's very good. Also, we see that Ethereum's volume has been very red, and today is Saturday. On Saturdays and Sundays, there's usually not much volume in crypto. We'll have to see if next week it can form a green volume candle to show whether it can recover or not. This is Bitcoin dominance. When Bitcoin dominance goes down, it's very good for altcoins. What you see here after that liquidity event I talked about, it went up, tested this resistance, and then sharply dropped back down. Now it's hit this resistance again, and interestingly, it hasn't been able to break through it yet. I talked about this chart before. If we flip it, you can see it's formed a V-shaped pattern here. And this kind of pattern is usually bullish and could mean the price goes up, or if we flip it, goes down. In my opinion, if it goes down, it could be very good for altcoins. And the next target could be down to this area, meaning Bitcoin dominance could drop to around 54%. The important thing is that this resistance holds and pushes it down. If we draw a trend line here, we can see that if it loses this trend line, it's a good signal. And this has really been a very good V-shaped pattern, which could mean altcoins will perform well in the short term. Let's see what happens next week. That was today's video about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and a quick look at Bitcoin dominance. And I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and remember, the trading game is never 100% certain. Everything is based on probability. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. Until the next video, goodbye.